Hello! Alright, today we are going to do a mitered square tutorial. I will be casting on 20 stitches, 24 stitches, somewhere in there. And halfway through that, I will be putting a stitch marker in. So if I'm casting on 20 stitches, I will be putting a stitch marker in at the 10 stitch mark. Now you can make your squares any size that you want. Today I'm making a teeny tiny square, especially it's really tiny if you compare it to the ones I've been making on my blanket. So for perspective, my blanket, I casted on 72 stitches, so 36 stitches for the bottom and 36 for the top. So I hit the halfway point, put the stitch marker in. It's not the cutest stitch marker in the world. And then I'm going to do the other half of the stitches. I'm using the old Norwegian cast on method because that is just my method of choice for almost everything. As far as I can tell, whatever your favorite version of casting on should work, but that's not something I've tested, so don't hold me to that one. But since this is so basic, I think you get away with a lot of different cast on methods and it should be fine. Okay, now that we're getting the last stitches on, we will start with row 1, which is really easy and straightforward. All you're going to be doing is knit it across. And when you get to the stitch marker, just slip it over and then knit to the last stitch. And in the last stitch, you will be knitting through the back loop. Super simple, super straightforward. And I told you guys this on a different video. I haven't tested to see if I don't knit through the back loop, what that does. Part of me says you probably get away with not, and I'm guessing there are people who don't knit through the back loop on the last stitch. So again, it's kind of up to personal preference. I know what I'm doing is giving mine a really nice edge, which makes picking up stitches so much easier. So, you guys you have the freedom to choose how you want to deal with this. Okay, now I'm getting to the last stitch. I will be knitting the last stitch through the back loop. Here, let me show you real quick what that looks like. So it's as simple as putting it behind and hooking it through, and it's really just that simple. I like when things are simple. Now, for row number 2, you're going to slip the first stitch with the yarn in the back, and then you're going to be knitting until you're 2 stitches before the stitch marker. So, and yes, you don't want to make that slip stitch too loose, so I make sure and give it a nice little snug pull, but you also don't want it too tight because that will mess up your tension as well. So find that happy balance. So knitting until I'm 2 stitches before the stitch marker, and I'll be knitting 2 stitches together. Just basic, simple decreasing. And then I slip the stitch marker like so. And then there are 2 ways of doing this. I have been knitting 2 stitches together through the back loop. That's what you've been seeing me do on all the other videos. And the reason that people wouldn't choose this method is there's a little bit of a twist to the stitches and so most people will be doing SSK. It's really up to you. Again, you kind of knit them very similarly, and that's kind of why I ended up doing it through the back loop, because with this, it really doesn't fully matter with the garter squares. It kind of the ridges from knitting garter just kind of covers up that twist, if that makes sense. So again, it's really up to you, and that's what makes knitting fun, is you can choose for yourself. Okay, last stitch, knit through the back loop. Okay, we have done rows 1 and row 2, and now we're going to be doing row 3, which is basically row 1. All you do for row 3, the only difference is that I slip the first stitch for it, and it's really, 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 that's it. That's the only difference between that and row 1. So slip the first stitch and you will literally knit across, making sure to slip the stitch marker when you get to it. And for what it is worth, I actually kind of do a little extra snug stitch. Not too tight where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't get this to move. But I just make sure and my yarn is snug right there at the stitch marker. I just feel like it helps create a nice decrease section. And now you're going to knit to the end. And on the last stitch, you'll be knitting through the back loop. You'll repeat rows 1, or no, not rows. You'll be repeating row 2 and 3 until you have 6 stitches left. So again, you'll repeat rows 2 and 3 until you have 6 stitches left. Like these squares are so easy, which is why I keep telling you guys, it's so easy. So yeah, I will come back when I only have 6 stitches left. Okay, I have 6 stitches. Now, literally, this isn't like this row. All of this is really simple. So, just to be clear, it's really, hold on just a second. I am adjusting my camera so that you guys can see it. All right. It's all you do is you slip the first stitch like normal. And like really, I guess you probably could have gone all the way down to 4 stitches before I jump back on here, but I just wanted to double check just in case if any newbies are on here and are like, oh my gosh, I'm down to this many, is that okay? I just wanted to clarify. So yes, just slip the first stitch, knit 2 stitches together. Come on. Like I always say, I feel like my fingers get camera shy. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, slip the stitch marker and then knit the other 2 if you're doing SSK, or knit 2 through the back loop and then knit the last stitch through the back loop. So like I said, probably didn't need to jump on here, but just in case there's any newbies on here, I just wanted to make sure they understood how that works. And then same thing as row 3, slip the first stitch, knit across the very short row to the last stitch, slipping the stitch marker, and then knit the last stitch through the back loop. All right, so we've got our 2 stitches, and all we do is plain and simple. We knit 2 stitches together. I'm sorry, my fingers are being camera shy. And then I remove the stitch marker, and then I knit the next 2 stitches either through the back loop or SSK, depending on which way you decided to make your mitered square. And then for the final row, or the binding off, whatever, I guess it's technically not a row. For binding off, I knit 1. I knit the second one like normal, not through the back loop, and I just lift the first stitch over and we are done. Cut that end of yours and pull it all the way through. Now, that is the basic mitered square. You can do many things with these. You can make pillows, you can make, a blanket like I'm doing. You might just want to make one mitered square and use it as like a coaster. I guess you could do something like that. If you're going that simple, like a coaster, you're going to probably want to block your square just so it really squares off. And weave in your ends and stuff, and maybe even give it a nice little border. I don't know. That's obviously personal preference. But that is the basic way of making one mitered square. And I really like how tiny this is. It's so cute. It seems so tiny compared to what I've been making. So I think it's super fun. And then remember, you can pick up along the edges. I had shown in past videos how to do that. You pick up in that space in between the ridges is how you build off of this one square. And then, you know, on the casting on where you need to, if you need to add the different stitches. All right, guys, that is it for today. I hope this helps. Bye.